Three things are happening simultaneously that have never happened together before. Repossessions rising before unemployment spikes. Prices falling while mortgage rates stay high. And local councils going bankrupt, unable to help when things get bad. I've pulled data from the last month that shows exactly which regions are about to break first. Not in 6 months, not next year. They're breaking right now. And if you own property in any of these areas, or you're thinking of buying, what you're about to hear could save you from serious financial damage. October alone saw 37,000 properties in serious mortgage distress across the UK. That's a 20% jump from last year. The average asking price per square foot dropped for the first time since CO. And here's the part nobody's discussing. These problems aren't spread evenly. They're concentrated in specific regions where all three triggers are firing at once. Let me break down these three triggers that are creating the perfect storm. Trigger 1. Repossessions rising even before the recession officially hits. When you see a 20% surge in repossessions while employment is supposedly stable, something's seriously wrong. People are defaulting not because they lost jobs, but because they simply can't afford the new mortgage rates. If it's this bad now, imagine when unemployment actually rises. Trigger 2. Prices falling while repossessions climb. This creates a death spiral. Falling prices destroy equity. Negative equity leads to strategic defaults, people just walking away. More repossessions flood the market, pushing prices down further. Once this loop starts, it's almost impossible to stop. Trigger 3. Regional financial collapse blocking any intervention. Birmingham's bankrupt, Nottingham's bankrupt, Woking, Thurrock, Cullen, all in financial crisis. These councils can't help residents when housing markets collapse. They can't even collect the bins properly. When local government fails at the same time as housing fails, you get accelerated collapse. Now, let's look at the 16 regions where all three triggers are already firing. London's outer zones top the list, and not in a good way. These areas currently have the highest mortgage stress rates in the country. 1 in every 800 households facing repossession as of October. Barking and Dagenham, Cullen, Hounslow, these aren't prime London. These are commuter zones that only made sense when people actually commuted. With hybrid working permanent, these areas have lost their entire value proposition. Why pay London prices to live 40 minutes from an office you visit twice a week? Properties in these zones are taking an average of 97 days to sell, the longest in any major UK region. Inventory has surged 48% year-on-year in Cullen alone. This isn't normal turnover. This is panic selling. But here's what makes it catastrophic. Cullen Council is effectively bankrupt. They've issued a Section 114 notice, meaning they can only fund statutory services. No support for struggling homeowners, no economic development, just managed decline while property values crater. The demographic shift tells the real story. These zones lost 73,000 residents last year, not to other parts of London. They left the capital entirely. The population exodus, combined with impossible prices and failing councils, has created cascade failure. Each problem amplifies the others until the market breaks. Birmingham is experiencing something we've never seen before. A major city going bankrupt while its property market simultaneously collapses. The city faces a financial shortfall of $760 million. Council tax rising 21%, the maximum legal increase. Services cut to the bone. This isn't a temporary budget squeeze. This is complete municipal failure. Meanwhile, Birmingham property repossessions jumped 87% year-on-year. The city that marketed itself as an alternative to London is discovering that without functioning local government, property values can't sustain. The data is brutal. Average time on market, 83 days. properties selling for 15 to 20% below asking. New apartment developments in the city center sitting half empty because buyers have disappeared. Here's what connects the fiscal crisis to property collapse. When councils can't provide basic services, areas become undesirable. When areas become undesirable, prices fall. When prices fall in an over-leveraged market, repossessions explode. Birmingham is living this cycle right now. Manchester built for a boom that ended before the buildings were finished. The city added 14,000 new apartments in the last 3 years. They expected tech workers, young professionals, endless demand. Instead, they got empty towers and desperate developers. Repossessions in Greater Manchester are up 93%. But here's the hidden disaster. Rent yields have closed to 3.5%, while mortgage rates are 7%. Every month is a loss. The landlords who fueled Manchester's boom are now fueling its collapse. The over-up is staggering. 15% of Manchester city center apartments are empty, not between tenants, properly empty. The developers know they're screwed. 3 major projects just got indefinitely postponed. Code for canceled. When supply overwhelms demand this badly, while repossessions surge, prices don't decline gradually. They cliff dive. Manchester's heading for 25 to 30% drops, minimum. Ledyds and Bradford are joined at the hip economically, and they're both failing together. Ledyds built its economy on financial services and offices, both dying. Office occupancy at 40%. Major employers cutting headcount or leaving entirely. The economic engine that drove property values has stalled. Bradford never recovered from the last crash. Now it's getting hit again. Repossessions up 112%. Average property selling for 30% below peak. Some areas seeing 40% drops. But here's what makes the West Yorkshire situation unique. The transport infrastructure that was supposed to save these cities isn't coming. Northern Powerhouse Rail delayed indefinitely. HS2 to Leeds canceled. The investment that might have sustained property values has evaporated. Without jobs, without investment, without hope of improvement, these cities face long-term decline. Not a crash and recovery, just steady, grinding decline that destroys property values over years, not months. Wales is experiencing a complete market breakdown that nobody's talking about. Newport, Cardiff, Swansea, all seeing repossession rates that would be front-page news if they were in England. Newport's up 34%. In a single year, the Welsh property market has a unique problem: second homes. English buyers pushed prices up beyond what locals could afford. Now those second homeowners are panic selling. Holiday let regulations, council tax premiums, local hostility, they want out. But locals can't buy because prices are still too high relative to Welsh wages. English buyers aren't coming because the party's over. So properties just sit and sit and sit. The Welsh government's response has been to add more regulations, more restrictions. They're actively making the crisis worse while pretending to help. The economic foundation of Glasgow's property market is being demolished by budget cuts. But here's Scotland's unique problem: political uncertainty. Nobody knows if there'll be another independence referendum. Nobody knows what currency Scotland would use. Nobody knows anything. And uncertainty kills property markets. International buyers have fled. English buyers won't touch it. Even Scots are hesitant to commit to 30-year mortgages when they don't know what country they'll be in. Add the new rent controls and anti-landlord legislation, and you've got a perfect storm. Properties that can't be rented profitably can't be sold easily in urban country with an uncertain future. The coastal catastrophe 23 to 26, Brighton, Bournemouth, Bristol. The coastal cities that boomed during COVID are now busting spectacularly. These cities bet everything on remote workers wanting seaside living. For 18 months, it worked. London salaries, beach views, what's not to love? Then reality hit. Remote work ended. London salaries required London presence. The exodus reversed. Brighton repossessions up 91%. Properties that sold for $700,000 in 2021 now struggling to get $500,000. That's nearly 30% gone in 3 years. But coastal cities have a unique vulnerability. Climate insurance premiums have doubled, flood risk maps expanded, cliff erosion accelerating. Suddenly, that seaside dream home looks like a financial nightmare. The demographic that drove the boom, affluent remote workers, has vanished. What's left is overpriced property in cities without the economic base to support those prices. The correction will be savage. Nottingham, Leicester, Coventry, the Midland cities that nobody talks about are quietly collapsing. Nottingham's council is bankrupt, literally cannot fund basic services. Meanwhile, repossessions are up 96%. The two crises are feeding each other in a death spiral. Leicester never recovered from losing manufacturing. Now it's losing retail too. The economic base has evaporated. Property prices are reverting to what the actual economy can support, which is much, much lower. Coventry bet on being UK City of Culture. Built apartments, upgraded infrastructure, expected transformation. The culture year ended. The tourists left. The apartments are empty. The debt remains. These aren't temporary setbacks. The Midlands lacks the economic drivers to recover. The debt remains. These aren't temporary setbacks. The Midlands lacks the economic drivers to recover. Government says fundamentals are strong. Fines too. January to March 2025 recognition phase. The million mortgages resetting create visible distress. Repossessions spike. Panic selling begins. Prices start falling fast. Phase 3, April to June 2025. Capitulation. Prices down 15 to 20%. Developers bankrupt. Banks restricting lending further. Government attempts intervention but has no money. Phase 4, July to December 2025. Full collapse. Prices down 25 to 40% regionally. Banking crisis, government bailouts, social unrest in worst-hit areas. Phase 5, 2026 onwards. The new reality. Property market restructured. Millions in negative equity. Generation locked out of ownership. Fundamental change in UK housing system. If you own property in these regions, 3 things should be on your radar immediately. First, repossession data in your area. If repossessions are rising now during supposed stability, your area is highly vulnerable. This is the canary in the coal mine. Second, days on market. When properties take longer to sell, prices are about to fall. When they take much longer, prices are about to collapse. Third, your local council's financial health. Check if they've issued Section 114 notices. Check their debt levels. Bankrupt councils equal collapsing property values. These aren't future risks, they're current realities. The crash isn't coming, it's here, just unevenly distributed. Some areas will fall 20%, others 40%. A few might hit 50%. Depends on how many triggers are firing simultaneously. The UK is entering recession, with a property market already in crisis. Repossessions surging, prices falling, councils bankrupt, all before unemployment even rises. 16 regions are showing severe systemic stress right now. Not warnings, not risks. Active collapse. All 3 are gone. What's left is reality. And reality says property was overvalued by 30 to 40%. The correction isn't coming, it's here. The only question is how bad your area gets hit. The data says these 16 regions get hit first and worst. The UK recession will finish what's already started. This isn't fear-mongering, it's mathematics. And mathematics doesn't care about estate agent optimism or government promises. When the numbers break, the market breaks. And the numbers are breaking right.